And I was really excited to find this model created by an American sociologist, Milton Bennett, that actually puts some measurement around what inclusivity and a culturally adaptive mindset looks like. And he put together a framework with 5 phases that shows how you go from a monocultural and very homogenous mindset moving into and developing into a multicultural and adaptive mindset. And there's actually also an externally validated assessment that goes along with that. And so I've been able to use this model and the assessment for the last 10, 15 years as I've worked with global companies and individuals. And that's been so helpful to be able to have this framework that's been highly researched, used over the last 30 years to define the journey. Because, this, I know that at Awaken Group, we talk a lot about transformation journeys and how difficult, how messy transformation journeys are. And this is definitely a journey that's messy. And as I've worked with people through this assessment, really it's important to know that no matter where you've been assessed or where you think you are, there's no judgment on that because, we are wherever we are and that's where we start. So that's just really important as we move along. And that's why I think this framework is important because it's not looking at pointing fingers, it's really just saying, hey, where can we move forward and develop? So as we look at this, as we look at the different phases, we start actually in this first phase of denial. And, people who are in denial, when they see difference, they actually miss it completely. So they don't even necessarily know it's there. They experience their culture as really the real one and the one that's relevant. So other cultures may not actually be noticed at all, or if they are noticed, it's very simplistic, a simplistic description of it. So if you hear people who are in denial talk, they might have an attitude that reflects the attitude of, why do we need special programs for them? Why do we need special programs for Gen Zers or millennials, right? And if you're somebody in a minority community, in a diverse population, and you're part of an organization or a team or a group that's in denial, you'll feel ignored. You'll feel completely invisible, like you're not there at all. And so moving on from denial, the next phase is defense. And if you're in defense, you actually do see difference, but you look at that difference and you judge it. And it's likely if you're in this phase that you think your own culture is the most evolved, it's the most enlightened, and it's the best way to live. And there's a real, us versus them mentality and mindset. This is where you'll hear a lot of negative stereotyping, a lot of not just unconscious bias, but a lot of overt and conscious bias. And a lot of people in defense who are in the dominant majority might even feel threatened and attacked by those who are in the minority groups. So a very common mindset you might hear in the defense phase is, there are just too many of them here. And, they'll never be leaders until they become more aggressive or they dress like us or they talk like us. So if you're in a minority population again, and your organization is in defense, you might feel like you don't belong. It's really uncomfortable. And probably worst of all, you'll feel like you're not talking the right way, that you're wearing the wrong clothes, that you're not communicating in the right way, and you'll just feel overall wrong as a person. And so moving past defense, this third phase is called minimization. So if you're in minimization, you look at difference and your tendency is to actually de-emphasize that difference and just focus on commonality. So just focus on these universal traits. And it's a great way to get past a conversation of difference. So you probably say, people are people. If you prick us, we all bleed. We're all human. And I don't see color. And in this phase, because there's a tendency to overemphasize this commonality and the fact that we're all the same, a lot of times people who are in diverse groups, they feel like they can't express parts of them that are different. They can't fully live this out in a dominant majority. So a lot of times, when I've seen engagement surveys from employees who are diverse, a lot of times what they put down on that employee survey is, I really can't bring myself to work. I can't be my authentic self. I just go along to get along. And I've been so good at doing that, sometimes I don't even think about it. So as much as, minimization still focuses on, de-emphasizing difference, I have to say that it's actually a really important bridge to moving over to a multicultural mindset. Because once we're in minimization, we're not thinking of them or they are not a threat anymore. So that mindset is gone in minimization, and we can actually move on and get to the next phase, which is acceptance. And this phase, it's really the phase where we start to feel empathy, and we start to deeply understand difference when we see it. So what we'll hear a lot of times in this phase is, I see your experience, I hear your point of view, it's valid, and I'm beginning to know what it's like to walk in your shoes. I also noticed that in acceptance, there's a shift in your own experience, how you see your own experience. So it's not, you see your own experience is not just the way to do it, but my way is just one of many. And that shift is really important as far as how you start to process your own experiences. And people who are in diverse populations in an organization that's at the acceptance phase actually feels heard and understood. And so, finally, we reach this last phase, which is adaptive mindsets and behaviors, where we actually are able to bridge across and use and recognize and leverage differences. So we're not ignoring them. We're not saying that they're not there so we can just get along. And we're not tolerating, and we're not just appreciating, but we've said, hey, we fully see the beauty and value in these traits and differences that are not actually our own. We know how to walk the talk. We know how to work harmoniously with other people. And actually, people in both groups, the majority and the minority groups, feel valued and they feel involved. So I think this is actually a really great goal for companies, because this is where our diversity really becomes an asset and really becomes something that makes that business case for diversity and inclusion. And